Hey, what's up? It's Alicia. Thanks so much for tuning in and hanging out with me. I'm here from aliciacarlson.com. There are tons of different articles and blogs over there about nutrition, fitness, and mostly just about the mindset that I think we need to start approaching our nutrition and our fitness from. Today, while I was getting ready to go on a jog, I was tuning into a podcast and I was listening to this episode of the Best Life podcast. And I think the title was something about like how dieting made me fat or something. And knowing a little bit about the two ladies that host this podcast, Danny J and Jill Coleman, I knew that both of them had had a previous history in fitness competitions or bodybuilding and things like that. And knowing that that is a little bit of my history as well, of course, I was curious, and especially kind of being in this non-diet, well, not kind of, being in this non-diet space, really advocating for non-diet lifestyles for you and for me, I was curious about this. So I clicked and I was listening to her podcast. And this one was specifically, it was just Danny J by herself. And she was talking about her experience of coming out of her post-competition career, I guess, which was about a couple of years, and how she had gained weight from dieting, from the dieting down to get competition ready, and then just kind of life after that. And so much of what she was experiencing resonated with me. It was that anxiety about food, about counting your food. She talked about getting rid of her food scale or putting it away and how much anxiety was associated with that. And I can totally remember that because I was living in that place where I was constantly counting macros, right? Like I set out on the endeavor of bodybuilding with the idea that I wanted to push myself. I wanted to challenge myself and see if I could stick with something for 12 weeks, be focused on my workouts, on my nutrition for 12 weeks to get up on stage. And I did. And truthfully, I loved being disciplined. And so much so, I just kept with it even after I got off the stage. I maintained about between 9 and 11% body fat, even after competing. And I prided myself on that. And part of what fueled that pride was how much people were praising me or complimenting me and saying, you look great, you're doing so well. And so as I'm listening to her story, I'm finding so much of myself in that. And as I look around on Instagram or in Facebook groups or just kind of in general with where I feel like we are culturally with fitness and sort of the fit ideal and what a woman's body should look like, I see that bodybuilding practices have essentially become normal or mainstream. I still see so many women struggling with their nutrition, even when they think they're doing everything right. Like even when their eating patterns are quote unquote normal. It is not normal to be so obsessed about our weight. It's not normal to be so obsessed and insecure about our bodies or to be, hyper focused on calories burned, calories in, and all of that. But we have created that as normal, right? So as I'm listening to her story, she's talking about she had kind of also stayed pretty close to her diet post-competition. Deathly afraid of eating carbs, afraid of gaining any weight, which I've been there. And even if you haven't competed, if you've ever tried to lose weight for like a wedding or a special event, and you succeed, there is that fear of like, you can't keep doing what you're doing, like what got you those results, but there's that fear that you can't let up off the gas because you don't want to go backwards. So just to kind of explain quickly what was happening with her is she started gaining weight. Like she started slowly eating again because she knew she couldn't just not eat carbs forever. She knew that she just couldn't keep burning the candle doing, these 2-hour workouts, eating around, I think, between 900 and 1100 calories a day, working a ton. But her body just basically started to revolt. It started to hold on to weight, put weight on despite her best efforts. And so she goes to the doctor, and the doctor basically just tells her she needed to eat less and move more. Now, knowing what she was already doing, working out 2 hours a day roughly, doing a ton of cardio and only eating about 9 to 1100 calories a day, to hear your medical doctor tell you to just eat less and move more is devastating, right? Like, how many people do you know that feel like they are moving, they are eating, the quote unquote appropriate amount for themselves, and they're still not getting the results? And so this idea that you just need to eat less and move more to lose weight is pretty outdated. It's very narrow-minded, and it really doesn't speak to anybody. It's like that's not solving the problem, right? And for her, I could hear the frustration in her voice, because she felt like, how could I possibly eat any less, or how could I possibly move any more? Like, the doctor didn't dig in and learn more about her lifestyle. They didn't run different tests. They didn't, really dig in. And even with some of the tests, she still looked kind of normal. And so really, it just kind of comes back to looking at health from a different lens, and not being so quick to categorize people, to pass those judgments, or even to put those judgments on yourself that you just need to eat less and move more, and then you'll lose weight, and then you'll have the results. Because what happens if you're already kind of at your limit? You can't move more, you can't eat less, and you're still not getting the results, right? And this really requires you to kind of start looking at what healthy might mean, what it might look like from a different lens. Is being healthy and fit does that only look a certain small way? And honestly, I used to think that it did. I used to think that being healthy or fit looked a very specific way. You had to be lean, you had to be small, you had to be skinny, you had to eat a certain way, you had to move your body a certain way. But the reality is that being healthy and being fit can look so many different ways. It can be different from person to person. And when we create this narrow idea or into that picture, and we can't, or we don't, no matter what we're doing, it's so easy to get down on ourselves. It's so easy to get discouraged and to feel defeated. But what if we flip it? What if we stop looking at the outside to tell us what is healthy and what is fit? And what if we started looking at our behaviors and our habits, right? Like, how are you sleeping? Are you getting enough water? What's your stress like? How do you manage your stress? Do you eat emotionally? Do you eat to comfort yourself? Do you buffer by drinking, right? Some people, they get stressed out and they actually start to restrict their food. They start to get really tight on their diet, or they start to exercise more. So looking at yourself through that whole lens, and looking at your behaviors and your habits, and using those to measure your health, and not necessarily what's on the outside. And that's really what the health and fitness industry needs to kind of flip the script. The medical industry, we need to start digging a little bit deeper, and not just, somebody looks unhealthy because they're quote unquote overweight or obese based on the BMI. Please don't even get me started on that one. We'll save that rant for another day. But it's not digging into the person and the behaviors and the lifestyle, right? We just assume that you look this way, so you must be unhealthy. Anyway, if you have ever been in that place where you've just thought, I need to eat less and move more, or that's even what you've been told, I want you to listen very carefully. That is not the answer. That's the easy answer. That's the simple answer. That's the one that we wish would work. But the reality is it doesn't. If it did, we wouldn't be having, this supposed obesity epidemic or crisis, right? Like, people wouldn't be overweight because goodness knows, like, we're all trying to, burn more calories and eat less and all of this kind of stuff. And we're still having the same problems. And, even if you are somebody that is super healthy because you are really, controlling your food, or you're working out a ton, look at the rest of your life. Like, take a step back and look at the rest of your life. And is all of it healthy? Or do you feel balanced in all of the areas, and not just that you feel good in this one area because you kind of fit into that mold or into that box that you're told that you should be fitting into? I posted or I shared a link to a YouTube video that talks a little bit more about my feelings on the movement Health at Every Size. I was super skeptical at first, so if you are as well, that would be a good video for you to check out. You can either find that linked in my bio if you're watching this on Instagram. If you're on Facebook, you can find that link here in the comments below. Hopefully you got some value out of this. I hope that this inspires you to start looking at yourself and other people through a little bit of a different lens, and that you will take the pressure off and not focus so much on just eating less and moving more, because there is a lot more to your health than that. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks so much for hanging out. Bye.